So I've been on Etsy for 5 years now, and I know more than anybody how frustrating it can be to upload a bunch of listings on your Etsy shop, start listing products. You're taking all this time and you're maybe not seeing the return that you really want to see on Etsy. Maybe you're posting listings, but you're not seeing traction, or it's been a few days or even weeks and you're not getting sales. And so in this video, I'm going to talk to you about the different things that you can do to better optimize on Etsy, to really see success. And this can apply to any type of seller on Etsy. And I'm also going to go over a few big things that I feel are necessary to talk about. And Etsy has changed a lot, and I really want to just go over the platform itself, because I think if you better understand the platform, then being able to apply all these things that I'm going to tell you about that can really help you will even be more beneficial. And if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Mac. I post videos talking about e-commerce, passive income, different ways to make money online, and all things Etsy. So I'd love to have you a part of our community here on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any further video. Now, because we're selling on a marketplace, Etsy's a marketplace, the first and most important thing in your listings is it something that people are searching for? Does your product have a demand? Because you can be posting a ton of really beautiful listings, but they may not actually have a demand, meaning that no one's searching for them. And this is what's different about being on a marketplace rather than a standalone store. Because on a standalone store, you can really list a bunch of products and then push advertisements towards people that may be searching for that product or that have an interest in that product. First, on Etsy, we already have like an established marketplace that we can review and see what people are buying. And so you need to really ask yourself, from your listings and from what you're creating, is there a demand for this? And is this what these people want to buy, or is this what I want to create? Because there's a really fine line between knowing what works and creating more of that versus just creating your own thing that no one's searching for and then wondering why you're not getting, purchases. You can have these beautiful products, but if there's not a demand for it and no one's like typing that into the Etsy search bar, you're never going to be seen, right? So it's really important to create things using your own creativity, but also that people are already buying. And I think that that's a disconnect that a lot of people have on Etsy, is they're like, oh, I just want to create, whatever product and post it, but they don't do any research to see if anyone's buying that. And then they don't know what the trends are in that niche and what people do tend to buy. Because overall in e-commerce, what's so great is that we can see what's working and then create more of that, adding something new and valuable to an already existing market versus trying to make our brand new market. And that just doesn't work as well on an e-commerce marketplace as it would on your own standalone website. So first things first is making sure that you are checking if that product you're selling has a demand. Now, for my print-on-demand sellers like myself, and this goes for lots of products as well, same with digital products, but when you're creating designs for your print-on-demand products, you need to look at your design and say, does this have any type of qualities that other best-selling designs do for my niche? So if you're selling a dog mom shirt and you type that into Etsy and you see all the best-selling designs, does your design have any qualities that the best-selling designs have? And it's not about copying, but it's about taking what's working and adding something new and valuable to that market. So taking note of color schemes, taking note of different trends, taking notes of all the things like fonts and colors and block letters. Do we have a different color for each letter? Is there a specific saying that's selling really well for dog mom? All those things matter, and those are the things that you want to implement. So research. And if you look at your Etsy shop already and you think to yourself like, yeah, no, these aren't things that are being searched for, that's what you need to implement, and that's where you're going to see those sales come in. So now if you know that your products do have a demand, the next thing to really look at is your SEO. So SEO is search engine optimization, and I know it's not a lot of fun, but it does really matter. And sometimes with SEO, less is actually more, so that we don't tend to confuse these algorithms. Etsy made an update for their SEO guidelines and the tips that they offer, and they say to be clear and concise about what your actual product is, and make sure that you are letting them know in those first few sentences, again, exactly what your product is. So if you're selling a pink sweatshirt that has a bunch of Dalmatians on it, your title should be Dalmatian sweatshirt or pink Dalmatian sweatshirt, and then followed by keywords that would make sense or that someone would search for. So pink Dalmatian sweatshirt followed by, dog mom gift, dog lover gift, or sweatshirt for dog lover. Things like that are keywords that are going to be relevant, but that first few things that you say in your title really, really matter. And then also not going super crazy in your attributes, okay? So when I first got started on Etsy, I was going in my Etsy listings and I was putting like all these crazy types of things in the attributes that didn't actually fit what I was selling. So if it does fit, if you go through and you see the theme or the color or those different things that you're gonna see there in your attributes, if those do fit for your listing, absolutely put them. If they do not, leave them blank. Less is more in that sense, because again, with Etsy, this is an algorithm. We want it to know what we're selling and not confuse it, because what Etsy does is they put that listing in front of, who they think that it should go to. And if you're putting random things or too many words, it might go in front of the wrong potential buyer. And then when they don't purchase, Etsy's not going to continue to push your listings. And I also would recommend that you use the keywords that are in your title, in your description, but naturally you don't want it to be like, copying and pasting your title into your description, but you can say in the first blurb of your description, like, this is a great dog lover gift or something like that, of like this pink Dalmatian dog mom sweatshirt, whatever your keywords are, just use them organically and naturally in your description where you can, because that helps as well. Just let the algorithm know again what exactly it is that you're selling. And if you're really lost on keywords to put in your titles, or if you haven't updated your titles at all, I recommend using a Chrome extension to see what the search volume is for the keywords that you want to use. And if you're somebody that doesn't really understand SEO, I will leave some helpful videos of mine in the description for you. And I do utilize a lot of tools for SEO research as well, because it's really coming in handy when you want to use those more or less competitive keywords that are still searched for, because that way we can go up against less people and have a more visibility against the competition. So I do like to use Everbee for this. eRank is great as well. I will link everything below, but you can basically type in your keywords into their Chrome extensions, and you can see exactly, how many times someone's searching for that, how much competition that keyword has, and then you can kind of go about putting that in your description and your titles. So next, let's talk about something that is absolutely huge on Etsy, and that is your photos. And most importantly, that very first photo that is your thumbnail image. A lot of people don't put time into this, or they go super crazy and they make these crazy intricate thumbnails. Okay, your thumbnail photo, and as Etsy says, should be clear and concise of exactly what the product is. So when you're selling on Etsy, again, you do have competition for specific keywords. And if you are scrolling and you are seeing the same mock-up every single time on your search page, Etsy is now saying that they're not pushing that anymore. For your photos, they want something that is more real and raw. And this is leading us away from AI mock-ups. And this is leading us away from AI photos and heavily edited photos. Etsy really wants to keep that buyer connection of it being lax, of it being, this is handmade. This is coming from somebody that made this product. It's not like this huge corporation, and Etsy is really pushing that. And so in their photos, they're even saying that they're pushing listings that the photo doesn't look like every single other photo that you see when you do search for something. So what I would suggest avoiding, especially right now in your first, at least for your first thumbnail image, is picking a mock-up that is overly saturated already. We've all seen them before. If you type in sweatshirt mock-up and you're trying to find one on any type of site, like even Etsy itself, if you buy your mock-ups from there, really consider going to past the 10th page of mock-ups that are available, because those first few pages of mock-ups are just overly used, and that's not going to help you in your Etsy journey, especially if you're selling in a highly populated niche, because they're just overdone and nobody wants to keep seeing that same mock-up over and over and over, especially not Etsy. So we're going towards that more real, lax vibe. Now, what this can also mean is that maybe some of these mock-ups that just have a blank background that showcase your product are not that bad. I was noticing last week when I was doing research for dad hats that a lot of the dad hats on Etsy, the mock-ups were literally just a white background, but were showing the product. Now, don't get carried away with just using stock image mock-ups, because again, we don't want every single one to just be a white background, but If you can even order a sample of your product and take a photo of it, bonus points. I know that that can get expensive, but it's just, I think with the direction that Etsy's going of just not using these saturated mockups. The next thing that you want to look at on your listings is going to be your pricing. Now, with pricing, I know it can be tricky, especially if you are dealing with profit versus revenue when you are selling print-on-demand products. So the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to go and do a search on Etsy. So if you're selling a dog mom sweatshirt, you're going to want to type that into your search bar and then filter it through best sellers. And then what you can do is see which listings have the bestseller badge or are selling now, and go ahead and take the average price. So take 5 to 10 of those listings, see what the price is for the same size sweatshirt. So open up a listing, select one of the sizes, whether it just be like medium or large, see what the actual price comes out to, because a lot of times people price gouge on Etsy and it'll say it's like a certain price, but that's only for like one variant. So go ahead and grab the price of that listing and then write it down and go through and do that with 5 to 10 of the best-selling listings for that exact product that you're selling. And then what you can do is add these all up and divide them by the number. So essentially we're just getting the average. So if I search and I see what the price is for a medium sweatshirt for 5 different listings, I'm gonna add them all up and divide by 5, and that is gonna give me an average price that people are paying for a best-selling sweatshirt in my niche. And then that's the line that I'm gonna wanna stay around. If I wanna be a little competitive, I can go towards the lower end. If I wanna be a little bit more, of a higher price because I wanna run sales, then I would kind of gauge that differently, right? And just kind of lean and see what that average says for that exact product. You also wanna make sure, once you have that average price, that it makes sense after you do the math, right? So go to your Printify profit calculator or whatever site that you use and make sure that that price does make sense for your product. And if it doesn't, then we need to consider if that's the right product for you to be selling in that price point, okay? So I know the pricing is confusing, but the main thing that we wanna be keeping track of is that we're still making a profit, but we're also in, the correct pricing for that product. And again, with that price gouging, I know it can seem like on a first scroll on Etsy, like, how are all these products cheap? But if you do a little bit more digging, you can see that they might say that it's cheap, but then once you click a different size or color, that will reflect that actual price. So make sure that you definitely check for that. Also, as well, something to consider is shipping. When you're adding up all those prices, make sure that you are including shipping to make sure that it is accurate for what the average price is. And lastly, let's talk about personalization on Etsy. I have seen a huge rise in anything that I offer personalization for on my Etsy shop. Etsy has recently, really been pushing themselves as a gift platform. That we've seen this since like January 2024, where they're like really pushing that. They did a Super Bowl commercial back then where they're like just pushing this gift thing, right? And you'll see it when you go to the front page now of Etsy. They have a gift finder and it like searches through. So anytime we can include personalization, it kind of makes people feel better about giving a gift, because either that personalization is a pack-in insert that's going to say who their product's from if they're sending it directly to them, or that can also mean that the product is actually personalized for that person. Now, this can take a little bit more time depending on what you're selling, but even if you're doing print on demand or digital products, it is doable. So it's something to consider with your Etsy products, and you don't have to offer personalization on every single listing, right? Something about selling on Etsy, and every single listing on your store is not going to sell. It's just not really how it works. They're typically, every single Etsy shop that I've had, seeing thousands of people that I've helped, it really is a few products are going to be your best sellers and your main sellers on your store, and some products that you have on there just won't sell as well. And that's just kind of how it is. And so you want to take those products that are selling well and then ask yourself, like, can I add personalization here in another listing? Or is there a way that I can, add personalization on my shop, but it doesn't have to be for every single listing? I love to offer personalization on journals. I sell a lot of journals in my Etsy print on demand store, and it's as simple as adding someone's name to the back of the journal. And how I do that is Printify has a personalization option now. You just have to toggle it on for your listings, and you will have to approve and add in their name to the order, but it really does not take a long time and it's definitely worth it, especially if you're trying to increase your order volume. So highly recommend checking that out. I can make an updated tutorial on the personalization since Printify did start implementing it, but I also have a tutorial I'll leave below with a service that does it for you called Hello Custom if you want to check it out. But stay tuned for that other video because Printify did update it and it's really exciting. And my final thing that I want to talk about is patience when you're selling online. I think that a lot of times seeing videos and seeing other people's success, it's very easy to compare yourself or to feel like, well, I've been trying to do this and it's not working, and you might want to give up. And I want to say that especially on Etsy, especially on marketplaces, you're working with an algorithm and things take time. But there are a lot of benefits to selling on a marketplace. In the long run, it's just about really holding out and really optimizing on what you're learning, okay? You really will see that Etsy is not a sprint. It's more of a marathon. It's something that you're gonna have to really study your listings, really do research, but it can bring you so much success without prior experience. So it's really, really incredible. And test things through your own process. Put things on your store, leave them up for 30 days. Go back into your analytics, see how they did, then take a note from there. And I think that a lot of times too, people will post listings on Etsy and they'll post like 3 or 4 and then they walk away and they don't do anything to further be in their shop and engaging in their shop. And then they don't see success and they don't understand why. And it's like, you might have to post 10, 15 listings before you get one that starts selling consistently. And that's just kind of how it is selling on a marketplace, but it can be so worth it, trust me. And so having that patience, continuing to watch videos like this that can motivate you and help you, first trying to compare yourself to other people's success, right? You might see somebody that blows a store up. A lot of times I see YouTubers talk about, you know, I posted this amount of listings and here's what happened. And what they're not telling you is that they have capital and money to put towards ads. And that's why they're skyrocketing a store in their first 10 days or whatever it is. So just be really aware of that. Don't compare yourself to others. Of course, if you have money to put towards ads and you have prior knowledge, your store is going to do better. A listing that I create over somebody that just started out is probably going to be a better listing because I've been doing it for 5 years, right? So it's like, make sure when you're watching these types of videos and even looking at other people's listings and stuff, not to compare yourself and to make sure that you are being consistent and you're giving that patience of not editing the listing right away if you're not seeing traction, you know, really just waiting and seeing what the algorithm will do for you and capitalizing on that further. So the best advice that I can give for that is to really check in with your Etsy shop every 30 days, check your listings, see what's going on, see what has favorites, what doesn't. If there's listings that aren't selling, that's fine. Just let them expire and don't touch them and move on. Take anything that you see has favorites, has sales, has people messaging you about it. There's a reason that people are, you know, interested in that product. So make more of what that is, okay? Best advice I can give. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful to you. Please go ahead and leave a comment if it was, if there's things that you're still confused about. And yeah, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Thanks so much for being here and I'll see you in the next video.